could this be the most underrated home console of all time?
Let's go.
Hey, it's Luke. So, you're all familiar with the PlayStation Vita, Sony's flashy little handheld that was well ahead of its time technically, but unfortunately poor sales and lack of first-party support from PlayStation really let it down. I could do a whole video raving about the PlayStation Vita. I love this thing, but that video is not this video. This video is about something a little different, and that is this, the PlayStation TV. I like to think of this thing as the Vita's little baby twin, and that's really what it is. It's so cute and tiny. To give you an idea of size, you all know how big a PlayStation 4 game case is, so here's the console next to one. And if you sit it next to a Vita game case, it's almost exactly half the size. So the PlayStation TV dropped 2 years after the Vita's release in 2014. And it released sort of as an effort to push the whole Vita ecosystem. As you all know, the Vita didn't sell well right from the start. The first models featured this beautiful OLED screen, which looks gorgeous, but obviously ramped the price up because they were expensive at the time, and they kind of still are. But the PlayStation TV, on the other hand, dropped at a much more affordable price. We're talking $99 US, €99, and I think it was $150 Australian on launch. Which, hilariously, these things are worth sometimes double that now, because I guess low quantities and high demand. Everyone wants one of these now. So not only was this a great purchase for people that wanted to get into the Vita library but didn't have the money to afford a proper Vita, but it was also really handy for people that already had a Vita and wanted to use it kind of as a dock. Remember, this thing came out 3 years before the Nintendo Switch came out and everyone lost their minds over the ability to be able to play handheld and then switch to your TV. You could do that with PlayStation 3 years beforehand. And sure, it wasn't as fluid as Nintendo's efforts, but it's still pretty simple. So if you're playing handheld, just save your game, power off, remove the memory card and the game card, put them in the PlayStation TV, plug that in, and you're good to go. You've swapped from handheld to television, or vice versa, in under a minute. So, how does this thing work? Easy. So, just requires a HDMI to your television, and power. It's actually the same power supply as the PlayStation Portable, and you are ready to go. As for controlling it, you can use either a DualShock 3 or DualShock 4 controller, which means PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 controller. Just plug it into the USB plug in the back to hook up the Bluetooth, and once it's connected, you can play wirelessly as with any other modern console. So the PlayStation TV had only 1 GB of memory inside, which chances are means you need to invest in extra memory. The downside to this is it doesn't take micro SD or SD cards. You actually have to buy these PlayStation Vita memory cards that Sony specially made, which are kind of expensive. Fair warning, if you're looking for one of the 64 GB ones, which are the biggest ones that were made, you'd be looking at upward of $100 currently online. But if you're already a Vita owner, chances are you already have one, which means you're good to go already. So power, check. HDMI, check. Controller, check. Memory card, check. Next, the games. So this is both the biggest feature, but also the biggest letdown of the PlayStation TV. Here's the deal, only some games are compatible. To give you and myself an idea, I actually went through and split up my Vita collection to see how it split with compatible and non-compatible games. The pile on the right are not compatible, and the ones on the left are compatible. So it seems to be a pretty even 2/3 that'll work, 1/3 that won't. Let's take a closer look. JRPG fans, rejoice! You're in heaven! Almost all the JRPGs I have are good to go on the PlayStation TV. This means that yes, you can play Persona 4 Golden in glorious HD on your flat screen telly.
It seems we have a guest with an intriguing destiny.
This is literally the only way you can legally play the definitive version of Persona 4 on your television currently.
Every day's great at your Tunas.
But the fun doesn't stop there. Classics like Final Fantasy X and X-2, Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, Disgaea 3 and 4, Ys 8, and Tales of Hearts R are all fully compatible. And they do look really great on the TV, considering. For those that aren't big fans of JRPGs, your choices are a little more limited, but there are still a few goodies to have a look at. So I recently played Killzone Mercenary, which was incredible. Once you've downloaded the update that supports a DualShock 4 controller, This game plays like a dream and it looks amazing. I played this 100% on the PS TV. I didn't even boot it up on the handheld version. And it looks like a PlayStation 3 game, but running off a game card this big. Honestly, start to finish, I had a ball with this, and I really recommend it to anyone that appreciates a decent first-person shooter. I couldn't believe I was playing a handheld game from 2013 and it looked that good on the flat screen telly. Other options, we've got Rayman Origins, Sly 4, Borderlands 2, Earth Defense Force, the God of War collection, which has the first 2 God of War games, and Need for Speed Most Wanted. They're all fully compatible. But honestly, those are probably the biggest highlights outside of JRPGs. The choices are kind of limited. Unfortunately, a lot of my action games and other genre games were sitting in the non-compatible pile, and it's a real shame. Stuff like Assassin's Creed 3, Call of Duty, Resistance Burning Skies, Ridge Racer, Touch My Katamari, and the Jack, Sly, and Ratchet trilogies are all incompatible, and there's really no good reason why these haven't been updated to work with it. It's a missed opportunity. So that aside, let's talk about the flagship Vita games, the ones that people buy the Vita system for. Here's where most of them sit anyway. On the PSTV compatible side, we have Persona 4, obviously, plus Dancing All Night, Killzone, and Freedom Wars. And that's kind of it, to be honest. On the incompatible side though, we're looking at Gravity Rush, Little Big Planet, Mod Nation Races, Silent Hill Book of Memories, Soul Sacrifice, Tearaway, Uncharted Golden Abyss, and Wipeout 2048. Thankfully, Gravity Rush and Tearaway have had PS4 releases since, so you can play them on the big screen in beautiful remastered HD, but it's still a shame the rest of them have sort of gone to waste. Obviously you can still play them on the Vita, but there's no way to play them on your television. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame Sony sort of released this beautiful little micro console and then failed to back it up themselves. A lot of the compatible titles are third-party games, and a lot of the incompatible titles are first-party games, or certainly ones from big developers, which is a shame. But it's fine. Again, if you dig JRPGs like me, we're good. We're sweet. There's so much to play. So I should also mention that there's a bunch of PlayStation 1 games that you can download off the PlayStation Store. And as far as I can tell, pretty much all of them are fully compatible with the PlayStation TV as well. Which means that you can play stuff like Metal Gear Solid, Crash Bandicoot, Suikoden 1 and 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and a personal favourite of mine, Toy Story 2, all with the ability to swap between handheld and the home television. Same deal with a bunch of the PlayStation Portable back catalogue. The PSP, we're talking Persona 3, Daxter, Ratchet & Clank Size Matters, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Loco Roco, Patapon, God of War Ghost of Sparta, Dissidia, Split Seconds, one of my favourites. The list goes on, and they're all fully compatible to play on your television and on the handheld. So there's one more feature that I do need to mention, and that is remote play. Anyone familiar with a Vita will know exactly what this is. So with the Vita, you can connect this to your PlayStation 4, and you can stream whatever your PlayStation 4 is doing onto here. And that includes being able to play a lot of games. So most PlayStation 4 games are fully compatible. You can play them on the PS4 and then flick them to your Vita and play them as you would on your PS4. You can do that with your PlayStation TV as well, which means that if you've got the PS4 permanently set up in the lounge room, but you've got a TV in the bedroom that needs a little bit of love, just set this up and connect them, and you can stream your PlayStation 4 directly to this and play games if you have a spare DualShock connected. So your PS4 is doing all the processing and literally just live streaming its output to your PlayStation TV. And yeah, you can play games, you can browse the store, you can watch some streaming services, compatible ones. There's a bunch of stuff you can do, all fully with this little guy here. So there you have it. Half the size of a PlayStation Vita case, 120 grams. It's my favorite micro console, and one that a lot of people don't even know exists. It is the PlayStation TV. That's it. I hope you've learned something. If you have, let me know. If you have any questions, also let me know and I'll try to get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.